For 3 winters, Walter and Margaret Bennett believed the abandoned Iron Creek Ranch in Wyoming would never welcome its owner home again. Homeless after medical debt and Margaret's worsening heart condition took everything they had, the elderly couple quietly moved into the neglected property. They repaired broken fences, patched collapsing roofs, stacked firewood, and endured one brutal winter after another. The ranch became their refuge, a place kept alive through determination rather than ownership. Then, on a snowy morning, a truck appeared at the end of the road. At first, they feared Blackstone Energy had returned to pressure them into leaving. Instead, the driver was Gunnery Sergeant Logan Hayes, the ranch's rightful owner, returning after 7 years away. Beside him sat Rex, his loyal German shepherd. Logan had spent most of his adult life serving as a Marine and later working disaster relief missions. Years of witnessing floods, fires, and hurricanes taught him how quickly people could lose everything. After his parents died in a flash flood near the ranch, he avoided returning home. Grief felt easier to ignore from a distance. Yet a county notice finally forced him back. Iron Creek Ranch faced seizure for unpaid taxes, and Blackstone Energy hoped to acquire the land for a pipeline expansion project. Driving through the storm toward the property, Logan expected decay and abandonment. Instead, he saw smoke rising from the chimney, repaired fences, stacked wood, and signs of life. Approaching the house cautiously, Logan met Walter and Margaret. They mistook him for another representative of Blackstone Energy and immediately defended their right to remain. When Logan explained that he owned the ranch, confusion replaced fear. The couple admitted they had taken shelter there years earlier and had simply stayed because they had nowhere else to go. Rather than finding thieves, Logan discovered 2 exhausted people who had preserved a home he himself had abandoned. Inside, he noticed repaired floorboards, warm firelight, and even a carefully cleaned photograph of his parents above the fireplace. The sight struck him harder than expected. Walter quietly praised Logan's mother's smile, and for the first time since returning, Logan felt something deeper than resentment. The next morning revealed more of the couple's story. Walter showed Logan the repairs he had made throughout the property, while Margaret's fragile health became increasingly obvious. Despite their hardships, both carried dignity and kindness. Logan learned that medical expenses had destroyed their finances and left them without a home. He also learned that Walter remembered Logan's father fondly, recalling a time when the older Hayes rescued him during a blizzard. Those memories reopened wounds Logan had spent years avoiding. Gradually, the ranch stopped feeling like a burden and began feeling like a place worth understanding. Their uneasy peace was interrupted by Curtis Shaw, a representative connected to Blackstone Energy. Curtis arrived in an expensive black SUV and immediately revealed his true nature. Though polite on the surface, he pressured people into surrendering land and exploited vulnerable families facing debt. He reminded everyone that the ranch could soon be taken by the county. When he approached Margaret in a threatening manner, Rex stepped between them, silently warning him to keep his distance. Logan firmly ordered Curtis to leave. Before departing, Curtis hinted that Iron Creek Ranch would not survive the winter. The encounter strengthened Logan's suspicions. Over the following days, he repaired fences with Walter, improved security around the ranch, and slowly became invested in protecting the property. He also traveled into nearby Gray Hollow, where he met Deputy Ethan Cole. Ethan distrusted Blackstone Energy and shared concerns about suspicious land deals affecting local families. Curious, Logan reviewed county records and discovered irregular contracts, altered documents, and troubling patterns suggesting elderly landowners had been manipulated into signing away property. Then disaster struck. During a violent winter storm, Rex detected danger before anyone else. Logan smelled gasoline moments later and rushed outside to find flames spreading through the hay storage near the stable. Horses panicked as fire threatened the barn. Walter rushed to help and nearly died when a burning beam collapsed overhead. Logan saved him and dragged him to safety. Through the smoke, he spotted a pickup truck fleeing beyond the eastern fence. Someone had deliberately started the fire. Later, security footage revealed the vehicle's license plate and clearly connected it to one of Curtis Shaw's work trucks. Instead of seeking revenge, Logan brought the evidence to Deputy Ethan Cole. Combined with suspicious contracts he had already gathered, the footage provided grounds for a formal investigation. Ethan recognized the seriousness of the case and promised action. As Logan left the sheriff's office, he noticed Curtis sitting silently in a black SUV across the street, watching him. The message was unmistakable. The conflict had only begun. Back at the ranch, life gradually transformed. Walter continued repairing structures despite an injured shoulder. Margaret baked pies and bread that Annie Porter, the owner of a local cafe, happily sold in town. Logan earned extra money by fixing fences, sheds, and water lines for neighboring ranchers. His reliability earned widespread respect. Veterans, ranchers, and townspeople slowly rallied around Iron Creek Ranch. Thomas Reed, a former Army veteran, delivered supplies and offered support. What began as one family struggle became a community effort. Blackstone Energy responded with increasing pressure. Inspection notices appeared unexpectedly. Anonymous complaints triggered unnecessary visits from officials. The ranch's water line was sabotaged. Margaret's health worsened under the stress. Yet instead of weakening their resolve, these tactics strengthened it. Logan reassured Margaret that she and Walter were not responsible for the trouble surrounding the ranch. Deep down, he knew the real threat came from powerful people unwilling to lose control. As Ethan's investigation expanded, more ranchers came forward with similar stories. Evidence accumulated rapidly. Contracts appeared fraudulent. Property acquisitions looked suspicious. Local newspapers began reporting on the allegations. Logan spent long evenings organizing documents around the kitchen table while Rex slept nearby. For the first time in years, he felt useful in a way military service never fully provided. He was no longer helping strangers in distant places. He was defending his own community. Eventually, the scandal reached regional news outlets. Reporters arrived in Gray Hollow. Public scrutiny intensified. Leaked records connected Blackstone executives to illegal land acquisition schemes spanning multiple counties. Curtis Shaw vanished without explanation, abandoning his office overnight. Although his disappearance removed an immediate threat, Logan remained cautious. Men like Curtis rarely acted alone. Spring slowly replaced winter. Snow melted across the valley, revealing a battered but surviving ranch. Walter's health improved. Margaret regained some strength and resumed baking. Rex continued guarding the property and became beloved throughout the community, especially among children. Meanwhile, state investigators deepened their inquiry into Blackstone Energy. Former employees agreed to testify. The company's position weakened with every new revelation. One afternoon, Ethan arrived carrying important documents. Investigators had succeeded in freezing the pipeline project while criminal proceedings continued. More importantly, compensation funds would repay families harmed by the company's actions. Combined with Logan's earnings and community support, the money allowed Iron Creek Ranch's overdue taxes to be paid in full. After 7 difficult years, the ranch officially remained in the Hayes family. Holding the paperwork, Logan sat quietly beside Rex and reflected on everything that had changed. What once felt like unfinished grief now felt like possibility. Selling the ranch no longer seemed right. Too many people had fought to save it. Too many lives had become connected to it. Soon the entire town joined together to create something new. With donated materials and volunteer labor, the old stable was transformed into Iron Creek House, a shelter for displaced elderly residents, struggling veterans, and families facing hardship. Walter carved the sign by hand. Margaret cried when she saw it. Annie supplied food. Thomas organized repairs. Ethan helped after work. The project represented everything Blackstone Energy had failed to understand. Land was not merely property. It was community. Finally, Logan repaired the original ranch sign built by his father and mounted it beside the road. Standing before the restored property, he saw smoke rising from the chimney, lights glowing through the windows, Walter and Margaret smiling together, and Rex resting near the porch. The ache he carried for years began to fade. Returning home had not trapped him in the past. It had given him a future. When Margaret quietly told him that his father would be proud, Logan struggled to respond. No one had said those words in years. Looking across the Wyoming mountains, he realized he no longer felt like a visitor in his own life. Iron Creek Ranch belonged to him again, not because of legal documents, but because he finally chose to stay. Surrounded by people who had become family, Logan breathed the cold evening air and spoke the words he had carried inside for nearly a decade. At last, he was home. The ranch stood resilient, proving that loyalty, courage, compassion, and perseverance could overcome loss and fear at last.